North Carolina is cleaning up from the worst flooding ever on record for the state. More than 100 people are dead from Helene, a number that's still expected to rise. Hundreds more are missing, and roughly 2.1 million customers are without power across the region.
We begin tonight with the spiraling emergency after Hurricane Helene. Tonight, the once vibrant city of Asheville, North Carolina, right here, is in a shambles. Buildings and roads severely damaged by powerful floodwaters. We have new video tonight of the raging river nearby, picking up a home right there, slamming it into a pile of debris. Dashcam footage capturing the moment a couple narrowly missed being swept away by this landslide.
Just to show you just how heavy the water was, just how powerful it was. It took out this street, it took out these lights here, these power poles that has left these people in this area without power for days. And there are so many people here who need water, they need food, the power and gas. There are all so many stranded in this area hoping for some relief.
I really had no indication of the level of storm that was coming, and honestly, I don't know many people did. It wasn't until middle of the night on Friday that we, just like a lot of people, began to hear the winds, the cracking of trees, and the swirling of winds like micro tornadoes that got us out of bed. As early as that evening, we began to understand just how bad it was. But it wasn't until Saturday that we were able to get off property and drive just down to the highway where we saw the bridge in Otene, or East Asheville here, with the Shenandoah River that had carved its way around the bridge, broadened itself 10 times wider. Homes piled up on top of the bridge that's right next to Zaxby's in the ABCCM Center down here in East Asheville. All the homes of Shenandoah upriver for its last several miles piled up on that massive bridge, and the realization settled in on that day that something horrific has happened in our community. On Monday, I got an email from Duke Energy, asked if I would be open to a discussion about housing linemen as they come into this area to restore power. And the answer was yes. A couple of days after the storm had hit, I think it was Sunday, we were, as a staff and those who are residented right here on our 300 acres, we had spent all day Friday cutting our way out. And the days following that Saturday and that Sunday, the reality of our circumstance settled in. We didn't have enough gas to put in the vehicles of our interns to get them out of the impacted zone where gas was available. And so these next couple days were pretty dire as far as our understanding of how are we going to respond. But we made the decision to close down camp until at least December 1st and send our staff off the property because there was no gas, there was no fuel, or there was no food, and so we needed to get them off the property. On Monday, I got an email from Duke Energy because a helicopter landed in our Welcome Pavilion parking lot right over here, and a FEMA truck came in and put a tower up. And I walked over and introduced myself to the Duke Energy representative that was speaking to the pilot. He was explaining that this helicopter was going to lift up blades.
Thank you, guys.
And also a grappling hook to lift trees off the power line, use our parking lot as a staging ground. And that man in that conversation asked if I would be open to a discussion about housing linemen as they come into this area to restore power. They sent a strike team out the very next morning and assessed our parking. Could they put their trucks up here? Our facility, could they sleep linemen here? Is there a place to feed them early in the morning and to feed them late at night? Do we have the staff that can sustain that? And And we figured out in about half a day with this assessment that yes, this would be a great place to host linemen. So we pushed the button on that and said, bring them on. Well, it's Friday morning at 10:30 Friday morning, October, I think the 4th, or 1 week ago right now, we were all kind of coming out of our homes, realizing we can only go about 40 feet before you hit a tree. And my staff were blocked in on one side of town, or one side of camp, and half the staff on the other side. Our cars were blocked in. Fortunately, we had chainsaws on either side of camp, and today, this morning, 1 week ago, we started cutting our way out of camp. 8 hours straight, we ran chainsaws to get out to the front gate. And the whole time I'm thinking, man, this is awful, this is terrible, how bad we've been hit. And it wasn't until we finally got to the gate, which we had no service, we realized we were blessed. And now we know why. God preserved camp so that we can put up these linemen, 200 linemen that are coming in tomorrow to stay here at camp. I had a vision of it a couple days ago that I feel like it's like you're pulling off the AED, you know, the defibrillator off the wall, and a Duke Power is just gonna put the paddles to the chest of Asheville area in Western North Carolina and get the power back on. We get to play a little part in that and housing them in our cabins. Devastation. Rob booked a flight to Charlotte and then shopped in Charlotte to meet some of our needs. And a lot of you personal staff, you've got these lists together. I mean, detailed stuff, Band-Aids and different things. And he also brought four Starlinks from us. He found them in Charlotte. And so he's got 4 Starlinks to help us get up and running for you guys to be able to communicate. So, good stuff. Rob, thank you so much. We appreciate you coming. Kevin's got a great electric business, Chavin, and he and Keith have taken good care of us here. And first phone call and Kevin shows up. We will not forget this. We will not forget this.
Well, this man right here needs a hand as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
You are top dog.
Yeah, absolutely. That's our boss man.
Yeah. And when that's my quarterback.
So here comes this strike team made up of these first 4 guys that showed up on the property to make this happen and stayed with us the entire time. Michael, Tyler, Alex, and Austin. They were the front lines guys of Duke Energy. And I'll tell you, if it hadn't been for these guys, these 4 specific guys from Duke Energy, they blended with our staff.
Oh, nice.
Those lights are
Oh, these are sweet.
oh, sweet. And I wish I could describe how a trust level, a communications level, a respect level happened right off from the beginning. And the compassion of Duke Energy, I was a little set back by this, but the compassion for Duke Energy as a corporation, from the higher ups to the boots on the ground, the strike team, very compassionate about the needs of the community, the mission behind why they were here, supporting us, doing something we've never done before. It was pretty amazing. And I'd have to say that without that specific 4 core, that strike team, it would have never been able to be pulled off like it was. Now that the strike team has showed up, they're giving us instruction simultaneously with my staff. There is a reset happening. Now, don't forget, we put plans into work for our interns to leave and families that live here on the property. Where are you going to go? And so this conversation started to happen with that conversation already having happened. And now we had to start reeling that first plan back in to say, we need you here. We're about to host 200 linemen feeding them and prepping breakfast at 3:30 a.m. every single morning so that they could have hot coffee at 5 and be on the road by 5:30. And then waiting for them to show up for dinner at 5:30 every single night until 10, 11 o'clock at night to feed them. I wasn't going to do this on my own. There's no way I could do this on my own. I need a team, and my team, this is what we do.
Just got finished setting up our next Starlink right over there. Guys, that is one of, I believe, 5 Starlinks now that we have set up here at camp. Thanks to Will Graham, Rob, the Shin Paws, and Josh Meadows for hooking us up with those. We quite literally would not be able to function without them.
I'm so proud of my staff that both full-time and our interns that said, let's go, and made personal sacrifices to stay on the property and be ready to work.
Got a text that said, hey, we can go ahead and start sending them around 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. So that's 6 hours earlier.
It was on Saturday that the first lineman showed up, and the rest became a blur. At 3 a.m., the lights come on in the dining hall. Constance in our kitchen was leading that, and Haley was leading that in the prep of breakfast every morning.
We are making biscuits, bacon, cheese. We've got egg cooking up. They can add their own egg, all sorts. Nice hot, piping, throw them in the warmers. We've got about 30 minutes, then we're on.
The goal was at 5 o'clock, the first lineman could come in for a cup of coffee. Breakfast is served at 5:30. During that time, we had a volunteer team, and I'm so grateful for Brookstone Church. While breakfast was happening, they were prepping their lunch line where the guys could grab a bag and fill a couple of apples, an orange, a couple of sandwiches, and so that they're going on their truck ultimately through the day with their bag lunch in hand. Then they would take off from this welcome pavilion into our community every single day. And then we would reset their cabins, clean up their cabins, take out the trash, do all the things necessary to have their cabins ready for them when they came in that night.
So once the line workers are done with their meals, they get on the trailhead pops out right here, and then we start the beginning of Cabin Road, where all the cabins are. Here's the first cabin. There's a left side and a right side. Each side has multiple beds, multiple toilets, showers, sinks, etc. There's Cooking Connie. We were just talking about her food. It's delicious. But yeah, so the linemen, they got a nice porch here. They can really chill out and decompress. It's one of the really unique things about Camp Cedar Cliff is that no place else provides a place like this for the line workers. Once they're done for the day, they can really just hang out here. There's plenty of room for them to go and talk on the phone and have that privacy to talk to their family and loved ones, which is very important, especially in a situation like this where you're gone for potentially weeks at a time. So it's just really been a blessing to have Camp Cedar Cliff open their doors and help, provide these cabins.
They would start rolling in at 5 and 5:30. Many of them not till after 8 or 9 o'clock at night.
Billy brought us a care pad. Soft. Yeah, it's very soft. All kind of stuff.
We would have dinner ready. They would walk into the dining hall with the fireplace all roaring, music playing. We tried our best to make it feel a little bit like home, away from home. They ate a big meal and they went right up to bed, many of them working 13, 16-hour days before they're able to get those 8 hours of sleep to start it all over the next day.
I've really gotten to know the staff here at Camp Cedar Cliff and actually starting to build relationships and friendships that I think will last for a very long time. To the staff at Camp Cedar Cliff, don't change. I have met amazing people here and everybody is pulling their own weight. We have come together as one to get the mission completed, which is to get the lights back on. And this place would not function without the interns. They're the ones behind the scenes doing a lot of the work that nobody sees. And I've gotten to sit down with them and talk to some of them. To see 18, 19, 20-year-old kids working 18 hours a day without a single complaint being made is absolutely amazing to me, and it's inspirational to me.
I know when the crew showed up, there were 265,000 people without power in the greater Asheville area. In the 2.5 weeks that they were here, less than 2.5 weeks of the time that they were here, it had gotten down to less than 7,000 people without power here in the greater Asheville area. And these guys here played a big role in that. But in that little window, I was actually in a vehicle driving across camp because somebody had said that the power was on.
We were standing here and we were bringing the trucks in at night, and we had one generator with the light tower on it, and we were all just letting the trucks in, getting them parked, and one of the other employees from Duke kind of nudged me and pointed, and I'm just looking, and I was looking for like 20 seconds, and I'm like, I don't know what you're pointing at, man. And he said, the street lights. They're on.
So I jumped in my truck and I was driving through on the radio, And I'm confirming as I'm looking up, and I can see the trail lights that go from dining hall up to cabins, which is a normal occurrence in the summer. Every night you can see the trail lights that go up the mountainside to the different cabins from dining hall at night.
Power had been restored, and it was just a sheer feeling of joy. We knew that the work that we were doing was paying off, and that everybody was going to have that moment eventually.
I had grown so accustomed to everything being so dark that when I saw those lights, it just lit me up, and I'm on the radio going, hey, I've got trail lights, I see trail lights. I knew those weren't on a generator, and as I drove through up to cabins, I'm like, I can see power on in cabin 1. I see power on in cabin 2, power on in cabin 3. All the way up to cabin 8, we're celebrating. I remember even seeing the dumpster, the light over the dumpster that's right here on this side, and I was celebrating. We've got power on the dumpster light. Man. So I'm up at dining hall actually, and they said, hey, can you come down here and check in at Welcome Pavilion? I come out of dining hall, jump in the Jeep, and I'm coming down past the pool, and I look up in the mountains, and I can see our trail lights that zigzag up through the mountains. It looked like a Christmas tree. And then I can see cabin 1, cabin 2, cabin 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way up the cabin row. All the lights are on. And man, it looked like a giant Christmas tree celebrating. This is like Christmas morning, man. After not having power for a week and a day, but yet there's a lot of people not only without power, but they don't have homes and they don't have a place to come home to. So this place is lit up so we can go get those people out of the dark. That's what we're gonna do. But man, it's the little things, you know? I don't know, it's like this glimmer of hope in that dark moment of, you know what? We're gonna do this. We're gonna be able to get the lights back on and get the town back where it was. And that's a dark place, you know, where you're getting, it's just getting worse, you know? It feels like are we making any momentum? And there was like that little glimmer, you know, in a pretty dark place where the lights are coming on, and it's progress. And that kind of, you know, thinking back on that moment, it was important that we celebrated that, because that was progress. And the imagery of just growing accustomed to a dark place is, you know, it's a scary thing, not just physically, but just your emotions or your mind. And to have those glimmers of light, you know, that the path is lit up, that there's hope forward. And I think of Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, where this promise that David is always speaking about, but now his son is passing on through the wisdom of Solomon. He's saying, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. He says, the psalmist David says, thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. And, you know, we live in a dark world, but this was a real reminder of persevering, not giving up hope, trusting the Lord, and waiting for his timing. And that's my prayer for Asheville, is that there's an illumination, not just of our lights in our homes and rebuilding, but illumination in hearts, that there is a God that cares, and there's hope, there's a reason to keep living and to serve and have purpose in your life. But that moment at camp, you know, I hope I don't ever forget that celebration over the radio, and everybody jumping back on the radio and celebrating. You know, sometimes when you're really busy, like Western North Carolina and surrounding impacted regions are by this storm, you're so focused on the task in front of you, the mud in front of you, the trees in front of you, that you don't have time really to think about the hope of what's to come. But when I stop and think about it, and I'm a pretty optimistic person, and you know, I can get pretty excited about about the positive sides, the solution sides, but I think for everybody that it's not hard to see that Western North Carolina, these mountain regions, are a destination of beauty and rest. They always have been for years. The mountains are a place of refuge. They're a place of retreat. They're a place of getting reconnected with nature and being awed by the immense creation of God that these mountains are. And it actually reminds me of, in Psalm 121, verse 1, it says, "I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help? My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth." This creation of these mountains are just an example of the God who we can have hope in. I do feel like that Asheville's going to rebuild, and it's going to be beautiful. I think there is hope for this being a place again of refuge and retreat and rest and fresh air and getting out in God's beautiful creation. We've got to just keep on being faithful and doing what God's put in front of us to do, because the light is going to push through the darkness.
Started on this end instead of this one, because I would normally cut around it, but I figured it out. Now it's better.
One of the interns that sticks out to me is Asher, just because, you know, he's always delivering our food.
It appears like he's upset with the world, but he's actually just locked in to this pie. You ready?
You built a great fire in the fire.
Really? It's warm. Let's see.
I feel like this.
Hey, I haven't checked in a second. I haven't looked at it.
It's still going.
I think for me, Ben is definitely one of those guys. Really gotten to know him really well. Talking with Sawyer as well. Getting to know him, talking around the campfire like I mentioned. Those are the kind of moments I really enjoy.
Been promoted to flat top master. I love to cook for people. That's what I want to do. I was also in school to be a teacher for a little bit, so my heart's for that as well. Anything that I can do to work with people and better people, that's my dream, no matter what that looks like.
Love everyone who helped us. We're just so grateful for all the helping hands and all the people willing to help feed these linemen.
There's about 32 base camps roughly that's out there, and nobody's probably heard this yet, but there's actually a lot of people talking that says, I hear everybody wants to go to Camp Cedar Cliff. It runs so well up there. The staff I hear is great up there. And a few people did come up here, but I've heard through a lot of the emails, through a lot of the team's messaging, that Camp Cedar Cliff is the place to be.